She had no name, not one she chose for herself. In the sterilized labs of the Threx Dominion, she was called Subject 73A, or sometimes simply the Asset. Engineered from the DNA of extinct predators and armored with biosynthetic plates, she was designed to be the perfect soldier. Faster than a gunship, stronger than exosuit troops, unfeeling as a machine. Her mind had been shaped from infancy to obey, to fight, to destroy without hesitation. She was deployed across countless battlefronts, tearing through enemy lines like a living storm. Her claws sang in the dark, and her eyes glowed with a cold light that terrified even her handlers. Every mission ended the same way: silence. No survivors. No mercy. But on the last day of the War of Obedience, something unexpected happened. A Threx warship, carrying Subject 73A as its ultimate strike force, crash-landed on an uncharted moon during a surprise assault on a rebel human colony. Fires raged, metal twisted, and in the chaos, she emerged from the burning wreckage, injured but alive. Her orders had been clear: eradicate all human life on the moon. She stalked the forest edge, limping slightly, senses flaring at every rustle. Yet as she closed in on the human settlement, she found something strange. Instead of armed soldiers, there was a single man standing between her and the fragile wooden shelters. He had no armor, no weapon beyond a simple farming tool clutched in his hands. His hair was silvered with age, his posture stooped, but his eyes, they were steady, unwavering. "Stay back," he called out. His voice was low, almost gentle, yet it carried across the clearing like thunder. She advanced, instinct screaming to eliminate the threat. But then she noticed something behind him, a small child, maybe 3 or 4 human years old, peeking from behind his leg. The child's eyes were wide, not with fear, but with curiosity. The man stepped forward, placing himself directly between her and the child. "If you want to take a life," he said, "take mine. But you will not touch her." Her programming flared. Threat detected. Eliminate. But she hesitated. This man wasn't attacking. He wasn't fleeing. He was shielding the child with a devotion she had never seen. Her claws trembled. The child stepped forward, tiny fingers gripping the hem of the man's shirt. "Is she a monster, Papa?" the child asked, voice trembling. The man turned slightly, resting a hand on the child's head. "No," he said softly. "She's just lost." That single word, lost, struck her deeper than any plasma bolt. She had never been anything but a weapon. Never been lost, because she'd never been free enough to choose a path to lose herself on. The man dropped his farming tool and stepped closer. She could have killed him in a heartbeat, but instead she froze as he reached up and pressed his hand to her blood-slicked cheek. "You don't have to do this," he whispered. "You can be more than they made you." In that fragile moment, something inside her snapped. The endless tide of commands, the programmed instincts, they wavered. For the first time, she looked at the child not as a target, but as something small and impossibly fragile, something that needed to be protected rather than destroyed. She collapsed to her knees, claws sinking into the dirt. The man knelt beside her, wrapping his arms around her shoulders without hesitation. The child inched closer, staring at her with wide eyes. She felt heat pour down her face, tears, a sensation she had never known she could produce. They took her into their home, despite the stares and protests from the others. In the days that followed, she learned to tend the garden, to build small tools, to patch up walls after storms. The child, named Mira, clung to her constantly, giggling and babbling about flowers and stars and all the wonders of her tiny world. At first, she flinched at every gentle touch. Every night she woke from nightmares, claws slashing at phantom enemies. But the man, Thomas, she learned, would come and hold her arms until she calmed. Mira would sing her nonsense songs in the dark, sitting on her chest until she stopped trembling. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. She learned to cradle Mira when she fell. She learned to hush her cries and brush away tears. She learned to laugh, awkward and harsh at first, but soon full and warm. One evening, as the 3 of them sat around a small fire, Mira crawled into her lap and said, "Mama." She froze. Her heart, something she once believed was just another organ to power her killing machine, nearly burst. Thomas watched quietly, eyes shining. Slowly, she wrapped her arms around Mira, holding her as though the universe itself might try to snatch the child away. After that night, she chose a name for herself, Ashera. Not a designation, not a number, a name that meant dawn, in an old human dialect Thomas had once told her about. When the Dominion scouts finally came searching for their lost weapon, they found no unstoppable killer. They found a woman standing in front of her home, claws spread wide, a human child hiding behind her legs, a human man standing at her side with a battered old farming tool. She did not obey their orders. She did not kneel. She roared a threat so primal it rattled the scouts' bones, and they fled rather than face her wrath. She was no longer their weapon. She was Asherah, a protector, a mother, and in a life she never imagined possible, she finally learned that love could be stronger than any armor, and the quiet heartbeat of a child could heal 1,000 wounds no battle ever could.